At the beginning of the story, we see a huge ship in the middle of the ocean. More than 1,000 people are traveling on it. Everyone on the ship is happy because it is the night of December 31st. The new year will begin the next day. To celebrate, a big party is taking place all over the ship. Music is playing everywhere. Some people are dancing, while others are playing games and enjoying the celebration. But no one knows that this happiness will only last for a short time. Very soon, something terrible is about to happen. Something so horrifying that no one could even imagine it. Just then, inside the control room, the captain notices something moving toward the ship on the radar. He immediately becomes worried. He quickly picks up his binoculars and looks across the ocean. What he sees leaves him completely shocked. A massive wave is racing straight toward the ship. Without wasting a second, the captain tries to turn the ship away from the wave. But a ship this large cannot change direction so quickly. Meanwhile, the giant wave keeps getting closer every second. The captain realizes that the collision is now impossible to avoid. He immediately presses the emergency alarm and warns everyone on board about the danger. As soon as the passengers hear that a gigantic wave is about to hit the ship, panic spreads everywhere. People start running in every direction. Everyone is looking for a safe place to hide, but there is nowhere to go. A few moments later, the enormous wave crashes into the ship with incredible force. The impact is so powerful that several people die instantly. The ship then flips completely upside down. The part that was above the water sinks below it. The floor where everyone was celebrating now becomes the top of the ship. While the ship is turning over, heavy objects are thrown across the rooms. Many passengers are also thrown into the walls and lose their lives. Some people fall into the ocean and drown. Others are killed by explosions inside the ship. At the same time, water floods the control room. Every officer inside is trapped and dies there. After this, we see the terrible condition inside the overturned ship. Everything is scattered everywhere. The passengers in the main hall are frightened and confused. Many of them have already lost their family members and friends. After a short while, one of the ship's officers comes into the hall. He tells everyone that he has both good news and bad news. He says the bad news is that a massive tsunami wave hit the ship, causing it to turn upside down. Because of that, no one can leave the ship now. The normal exit is underwater and completely blocked. Then he shares the good news. Just a few minutes before the wave hit, the officers managed to contact the rescue team, so there is no need to panic. A rescue helicopter will arrive as soon as possible and save everyone. During this moment, we meet a man named Dylan. Dylan used to serve in the US Navy. Because of his experience, he quickly understands their real situation. He knows they are trapped in the middle of the ocean. He also realizes that the rescue team may take a long time to reach them. So instead of waiting, he decides to find a way out himself. Dylan walks over to the ship's map on the wall and carefully studies it. He starts searching for another escape route. But after checking the map, he cannot find any way to get outside. The only exit from the ship is now completely underwater, leaving everyone trapped inside. Dylan does not give up. He walks over to the body of a dead man and takes a few useful items from his pocket. Just then, a little boy comes up to him and asks, "What are you doing?" Dylan replies, "I'm getting ready to find a way out of here." The boy looks surprised and says, "You can't escape." The ship's officer just told everyone that there is no way out because the ship has turned upside down. Dylan calmly answers, "There is one way out. But to reach it, I have to go higher into the ship." A few seconds later, the boy's mother arrives. The boy quickly tells her that Dylan knows a way to escape. She looks at Dylan and asks, "Is it true? Do you really know a way out?" Dylan nods and says yes. At that moment, a businessman and an elderly man also come over. They hear the conversation and realize that Dylan is planning to escape. The old man then introduces himself and says, "I'm an architect and my name is Richard. I understand how this ship was designed. In my opinion, this ship was never built to stay floating while upside down. Right now, it is slowly sinking deeper into the ocean. If we don't get out soon, all of us will die." Hearing this, the businessman, whose name is Robert, tells Dylan, "I want to come with you." But Dylan refuses and says, "I work alone." The businessman does not give up. He tells Dylan, "We should work together and find a way out as a team. If we all try to survive alone, none of us will make it." The other passengers also agree with him. They tell Dylan that the businessman is right and that they should stay together. After thinking for a moment, Dylan finally agrees. The businessman then calls one of the ship's waiters and asks him, "What is the fastest way to reach the upper part of the ship?" The waiter hesitates and says, "The ship's officers told me not to tell anyone about that route because it is extremely dangerous. You could lose your lives if you go that way." The businessman then makes him an offer. He says, "I will pay you twice as much money as you earn in an entire year. All you have to do is show us the way out." The waiter accepts the offer, and the group starts moving toward the upper part of the ship. Their goal is to reach the area where the ship's giant propellers are located, because that is the only possible escape route. As they leave, the passengers still waiting in the hall notice them climbing upward upward. Seeing this, the officer tells everyone, those people are making a huge mistake. Death is waiting for them up there, but the officer has no idea that the ship is slowly sinking deeper into the ocean. At any moment, water could begin flooding the hall as well. To stop that from happening, the officer orders the guards to seal all the doors. He wants to keep the water out, and he also wants to make sure the people who left cannot return inside. Meanwhile, Dylan and the others continue moving through the ship. As they walk farther ahead, they come across several dead bodies lying on the floor. The horrifying sight leaves everyone terrified. After walking a little farther, the group finds that the path is completely blocked. Furniture and heavy objects are scattered everywhere, leaving no way to move upward. They then open the door of an elevator and discover that it is broken. The elevator is stuck above them. The only way forward is to reach the elevator on the opposite side. To do that, they place a long metal bench across the gap and use it as a bridge. Dylan goes first. He carefully crosses the bench and reaches the other side. He tries to open the elevator door, but it refuses to move. While looking around, he notices another elevator above him with its door slightly open. To reach it, Dylan asks the elderly architect to come closer. He climbs onto the old man's shoulders and manages to pull himself into the upper elevator. Once inside, he helps the others climb up one by one. Soon, everyone makes it safely except for the old man and the waiter. The waiter tells the old man, "You go first. I'll come after you," but he has no idea that this decision is about to become the biggest mistake of his life. Just then, the damaged elevator hanging above starts shaking. The old man stands on the waiter's shoulders and begins climbing toward the upper elevator. Suddenly, the metal bench under the waiter's feet slips away and falls into the darkness below. Both men are left hanging in the air. The terrified waiter grabs the old man's leg and starts screaming for help. At the same time, the broken elevator above begins sliding down toward them. Everyone panics. Dylan quickly grabs the old man and tries to pull both of them up, but their combined weight is too much. He cannot save them together. Dylan then shouts, "I can't pull both of you up. You have to get him off you or both of you will die." Hearing this, the waiter desperately begs, "Please don't let me fall." The old man is heartbroken, but he knows there is no other choice. He kicks the waiter away. The waiter loses his grip and falls into the darkness below. If the old man had not done that, they both would have died. Dylan and the others quickly pull the old man into the upper elevator. The moment he gets inside, the broken elevator crashes down at full speed. A massive explosion shakes the entire area and flames spread everywhere. To protect themselves from the fire, the group immediately shuts the elevator door. Because of that, they survive the explosion. Meanwhile, the ship's officer hears the loud crash. He assumes that everyone who went upstairs has been killed, but he has no idea that death is now getting closer to him instead. On the other side, Dylan and the group continue moving forward. After walking for some time, they reach the ship's dance club. There, the businessman finds his daughter who has been trapped inside the club. They also meet 3 more survivors. Their group now has a total of 9 people. They all agree that they must reach the area near the ship's propellers as quickly as possible, because the ship is slowly sinking and more water is filling it every minute. They continue moving ahead and open the next door, but the moment they look outside, everyone freezes in shock. The entire path ahead is blocked, and the lower level is already flooded with a huge amount of water. There is only one possible way to cross to the other side. They have to use the broken elevator railing as a narrow bridge. One by one, they carefully begin crossing it. Soon, the first 5 members of the team safely reach the other side. Just then, the businessman looks at the little boy and says, "It's your turn now, son, come across." But before the boy can move, a drunk man suddenly steps forward and says, "I'm going first. You might leave me behind if I wait." No one argues with him, so he carefully starts walking across the narrow metal railing. As he reaches the middle, the bottle of alcohol slips out of his hand and falls below. He stops in the middle for a moment, and suddenly the ship's heavy engine breaks loose and crashes straight down on top of him. The railing is destroyed, and the drunk man is crushed under the massive engine. As the engine falls, a huge amount of oil pours into the water below. A few sparks ignite the oil, and within seconds, flames spread across the surface of the water. The group quickly runs back to escape the fire. Now everyone is trapped again. The railing is gone, and the water below is burning. There is no way to reach the other side. If they cannot cross soon, the rising water inside the ship will kill them all. Nobody knows what to do next. Then Dylan suddenly comes up with an idea. He ties a long pipe to a metal rod and jumps straight into the water. Since he already knows that the fire is only burning on the surface, he swims safely underneath it. The flames cannot reach him below the water. Dylan successfully reaches the other side and ties the pipe to another metal rod. In this way, he creates a new path for the others. The businessman then places the little boy on his shoulders and carefully hangs from the pipe while crossing to the the other side. One by one, the remaining survivors also make it across, and the group continues moving forward. Meanwhile, back in the main hall, the situation becomes much worse. The water outside keeps rising, putting enormous pressure on the large glass windows. Soon, cracks begin to appear in the glass. The people inside panic as they watch the windows breaking apart. At that moment, the officer finally realizes that he made a terrible mistake, but it is already too late. Seconds later, all the windows shatter, and a massive wave of water rushes into the hall. The passengers are unable to escape, and everyone inside drowns. Dylan's group hears their desperate screams from above. They immediately understand that everyone left in the hall has died. Deep down, they realize they made the right decision by leaving earlier. If they had stayed behind and listened to the officer, they would have died as well. But they do not have time to think about it for long. Water has already started flooding the area where they are standing. They quickly begin searching for another way to reach the ship's propeller section. Soon they try opening the next door. But the moment they crack it open, water blasts inside under tremendous pressure. This tells them that the entire area outside the door is already underwater. That route is completely impossible now. Everyone becomes worried because once again they have no way out. Then the businessman notices a small ventilation shaft. Since there are no other options left, the group squeezes into the narrow ventilation passage. They crawl forward for some distance, and then they notice a bright light shining above them. Seeing the light gives everyone hope because it looks like a possible exit. However, another danger appears at the same time. Water starts rushing into the ventilation shaft from behind. Dylan is crawling at the very back of the group, so he shouts to the businessman, "Hurry up and reach the opening with the light. The water is coming toward us fast." Using all his strength, the businessman finally manages to climb up to the opening where the light is coming from. When the businessman finally reaches the opening, he realizes there is another problem. A strong metal grate is blocking the exit. He tries to remove it, but it does not move because it is tightly secured with nuts and bolts. The openings in the grate are also very small, so he cannot even reach the bolts with his hand. He then looks at the little boy and says, "Come up here, son. Your hands are small, maybe you can reach the bolts." The boy climbs up and pushes his hand through one of the small holes. He tries to loosen the bolts, but he cannot do it with his bare hands. He needs something hard and pointed to turn them. The businessman quickly asks everyone, "Does anyone have something sharp that can help us open these bolts?" At that moment, the young woman in the group removes the cross hanging around her neck and hands it to him. She says, "Try using this, maybe it will work." The businessman gives the cross to the little boy. The boy reaches through the grate again and slowly starts turning the bolts. Little by little, they begin to loosen. But while this is happening, the rising water finally reaches the group. Since Dylan is at the very back, almost his entire body is soon underwater. Only his head remains above the surface. A few seconds later, even his head begins to sink. Everyone starts shouting at the little boy to hurry. Just as Dylan is about to disappear beneath the water, the boy finally removes the bolts from both sides of the grate. The exit opens, and everyone quickly climbs out one after another. They are now very close to the area where the ship's propellers are located. They only need to climb 2 more floors. The group then tries to open the next door leading upward, but it is locked from the other side. With no other choice, they remove the cover of a large tank above them and climb inside. Once they enter, Dylan realizes they are inside the ship's stabilizer tank. The tank is completely sealed and they are trapped once again. There is no way out. Only one exit exists, but it is tightly shut. Going back is also impossible because the lower parts of the ship are already completely flooded. Dylan understands how the stabilizer tank works. He explains to everyone, this tank is designed to keep the ship balanced. When it fills completely with water, the small gate in front should open and push the extra water into the next tank. We only have one chance to survive. We have to fill this entire tank with water. Hearing this, the businessman's daughter becomes terrified. She asks, what if the door doesn't open after the tank fills up? What if we run out of air before that happens? Dylan honestly replies, I don't know. But this is the only option we have left. Everyone hesitates because the plan is extremely dangerous. Then the businessman notices that water is rushing toward them from below at an incredible speed. He realizes they cannot keep waiting. If they do nothing, they will drown anyway. So the group decides to take the risk. Dylan and the businessman work together and open the large valve in front of them. Water immediately starts pouring into the tank. Within moments, the entire tank is completely filled. But the front door still does not open. Everyone loses hope and believes this is the end. Then, as the pressure inside the tank keeps increasing, the sealed door suddenly bursts open. In a single powerful rush, all of them are swept through the opening and carried into the next tank, but their troubles are still not over. This new tank is already filled with water, and the only way to reach the upper floor is by swimming through it. Everyone takes a deep breath and starts swimming toward the other side. The young woman is the last person in the line. While she is swimming forward, her clothes suddenly get caught on a loose wire. She becomes trapped underwater. She She struggles with all her strength to free herself, but as she pulls harder, her head hits a sharp piece of metal in front of her. The impact causes a serious injury, and blood begins spreading into the water. The elderly man notices her just in time. He quickly swims over and somehow manages to bring her to the surface. Sadly, by the time he gets her out, she has already stopped breathing. Everyone is heartbroken by her death. After losing her, only 7 people remain in the group. Even so, they have no choice but to keep moving. After walking for a while, they reach another area where broken furniture and heavy equipment are scattered everywhere. Suddenly, they hear a sound coming from behind the pile of debris. For a moment, everyone believes that the rescue team has finally arrived. They immediately begin shouting for help while clearing the path as fast as they can. But after removing the debris, they discover that the sound was only a ringing telephone. Their hope disappears in an instant. Dylan then studies the ship's map once again. He realizes they are now very close to the propeller section. The group quickly runs toward it. But when they finally arrive, they see that the entire propeller area is flooded with water. This completely breaks their spirits. The place they worked so hard to reach is underwater, and it feels like all their efforts over the past several hours have been wasted. Everyone begins to believe that death is now unavoidable. Dylan feels especially guilty because the people trusted him and followed him this far, yet he has still been unable to save them. The businessman walks over to Dylan and says, "Don't blame yourself. We are all grateful to you. You did everything you could to save us. Maybe this was simply our fate. Maybe we were always meant to die on this ship." Just then, a massive explosion erupts deep inside the lower part of the ship. The entire ship shakes violently. The section containing the propellers rises out of the water, and the water trapped there rushes away to the other side. Suddenly, the path is completely clear again. The group quickly runs toward the propeller area. As soon as the elderly man opens the door leading to the propellers, a powerful blast of air slams the heavy door straight into his face. The impact throws him backward, and he dies instantly. The businessman then shines a light toward the propellers. He realizes something is terribly wrong. Instead of spinning in the normal direction, the propellers are rotating in reverse. That means they are pulling air inside the ship instead of pushing it out. If anyone gets close to them, the powerful airflow will throw them back inside. Now the group is so close to escaping, but first they have to stop the propellers. They check the ship's map and discover that the propellers can only be turned off from the control room. The problem is that the control room is about 150 feet below them. Reaching it means swimming a very long distance underwater. No ordinary person can hold their breath for that long. Even so, the businessman says, "I have to go. If I don't, all of us will die." But his daughter's boyfriend immediately stops him and says, "Please don't go, let me do it. I'm younger and I can swim down there, shut the propellers off and come back." Seeing all this, the businessman's daughter starts crying. She knows that no one can swim that far underwater and return alive. She does not want to lose her boyfriend, and she does not want to lose her father either. As she cries, her boyfriend comforts her and says, "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." But when he turns around to jump into the water, he realizes that the businessman has already quietly gone underwater without telling anyone. His daughter breaks down in tears as she watches him disappear. Meanwhile, the businessman keeps swimming toward the control room. At the same time, the woman's little boy suddenly goes missing. The frightened mother jumps into the water to search for him. After looking around, she finds him trapped behind a metal grate. Because of the grate, she cannot reach him. She comes back to the surface and starts crying for help. Just then, Dylan arrives. He quickly opens the grate, rescues the little boy, and brings both of them safely back to the surface. Meanwhile, the businessman finally reaches the control room. There, he discovers that the switch used to stop the propellers has been destroyed. Seeing this, he loses all hope because he can no longer shut them down. He has already been underwater for too long, and he begins running out of air. As he struggles to breathe, he notices another switch just before losing consciousness. It is the switch that changes the propellers into reverse mode. With the last bit of strength he has left, he presses the switch. The propellers immediately reverse their direction, and the businessman dies in the control room. In the end, he sacrifices his own life to save everyone else. Back at the propeller section, the group suddenly notices that the airflow has changed. They look at the propellers and see that they are still spinning. At first, everyone wonders why the businessman did not stop them. Then they realize that the propellers are no longer pulling air inside the ship. Instead, they are pushing air outward. Everyone understands that before dying, the businessman reversed the propellers instead of stopping them. Even so, they still do not understand why he did it. They worry that if they go anywhere near the spinning blades, they will be torn apart. Then Dylan suddenly figures out the businessman's plan. He says to the young man, "If we throw something large into the propellers, we can destroy them." The young man likes the idea and quickly hands Dylan a large gas cylinder. Dylan throws the cylinder straight toward the spinning propellers. The moment it hits the blades, a huge explosion fills the area with fire. After the flames disappear, they see that the propellers have finally stopped. Everyone is overjoyed. They immediately run toward the edge of the ship. However, the businessman's daughter refuses to move because she is still waiting for her father. She believes he will come back. She has no idea that he is already dead. Her boyfriend walks over to her and gently says, "Your father brother is gone. Waiting here won't bring him back. We have to leave now or you will die too." After hearing his words, she finally agrees. One by one, the survivors jump from the propeller section into the ocean and climb into a small rescue boat nearby. As soon as everyone gets into the boat, the massive ship begins tipping over toward them. The group panics and starts rowing as fast as they can to get away. After a short time, they reach a safe distance. Moments later, the giant ship finally disappears beneath the ocean. Soon after that, they hear the sound of a helicopter flying overhead. Everyone begins shouting and waving for help, but because it is dark, the helicopter crew cannot see them. Dylan quickly fires a flare gun into the sky. The bright flare catches the crew's attention. The helicopter changes direction, finds the survivors, and safely rescues them. And with that, the story comes to an end. If you liked this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel to see more such videos. Thanks for watching.